Courtney Rowland and Mark Passwater's here in College Station. It's Texas A&M Fan Day and Media Day. We had a chance to talk with Jimbo Fisher, the coordinators, and some of the players. Jimbo Fisher doesn't seem totally pleased at where they're at, but that seems pretty typical. But he is pleased with the energy and the physicality. What else did you take from what Jimbo said today?
A lot of coach speak, really. He's not happy. He's never happy. He's never going to be happy, which he admitted. I think that he let on that he's satisfied, at least. I think that he realizes that he's got a good football team and that they're starting to show that. Second year in the system, all that good stuff. I think it's starting to pay off. They definitely look smoother, crisper, and all those things in the practices that we've seen. So I wouldn't be surprised if he agrees with that, even though he'll never, ever, ever say it.
And I had asked about Kenyon Green there at the end, and so did Sam. Obviously, he's pleased with what he's doing, a very athletic guy. And then all he could say was, as far as his level of expectation was for him and realistic expectation, he just said, I'm just smiling. That's all I can tell you. Because I know there's been talk about it on the board since Kenyon's been playing with the first team the past couple days. What do you think is a realistic expectation for Kenyon?
He starts this year. I said before camp even began that I thought that, he could take the Cedric Ogbuehi route, that he would start as a guard and move out to tackle. And I think that's what we're starting to see. He's in there at right guard. I think that with Ryan McCollum being out and Colton Prater having to take over at center the way he has, that's given Kenyon more opportunities at right guard. Let's face it, he's bigger, stronger, more physical than Prater is. He's not as experienced. That's the thing that Prater has in his advantage. But, if it all comes down to it, if you get Kenyon more reps, I don't see why he wouldn't have a really good shot at taking that job.
And I'd asked Bobby Brown who's surprising him the most on the offensive line, and that's what he said was Kenyon Green. Moving to the defense, linebacker obviously was an issue last year. There's more depth this year. What have you noticed throughout fall camp so far? Where have they improved, and what are your thoughts going into, just a few more, less than 2 weeks, I think, left?
Well, you had two real experienced guys last year, in Otero Alaka and Tyrell Dodson, and they basically were out there all the time. This year, obviously, you don't have either of them, but what you do have is a lot more speed. I think you have more athleticism with Buddy Johnson and Anthony Hines. Hines has really impressed me with his speed. He's just quick. The movements are fluid, all that stuff. Mike Elko and Jimbo both said that they were really impressed with the development that Buddy's shown. I think that they feel a lot more comfortable with the depth they've got at linebacker this year. So I don't think that they're going to be completely reliant on two guys. They can rotate more, keep them fresh, and that'll keep the defense better as a whole.
And Anthony Hines, I was also talking to him, and he said that he feels 100% pretty much the exact place where he left off before he got injured. So that's good news to hear. As far as the offense, a lot of questions were asked about the backup quarterback position. What have you been seeing out there from those guys?
I think right now it's Connor Blumerick has the lead, but I think that's just kind of by default. He's the guy that's the most experienced. He's got a good arm. So he's there. Zach Calzade's got the best arm by far, but what does he know about the offense? That's the big question. How far has he gotten into the playbook? So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Blumerick's the backup this year. At this point, I think Calzade's got the most talent, and if it comes down to those aspects, then he'll probably win the job. But Blumerick's got the most positives working in his favor, I think, at this point. So if you want to make sure that you keep more of the playbook in should something happen to Kellen Mond, then Blumerick is probably your guy.
And Kellen Mond had mentioned Jabon Osborne has been, his go-to guy pretty much. And obviously that makes sense. They've been playing with each other for years now. Right. How do you get Courtney Davis, Keldrick Harper, or Kendrick? Thank you. How do you get those guys to be consistent and have some of the other guys step up, like Jalen Preston? I know you spoke with him.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think Davis has become consistent. I've really liked what I've seen. He seems faster this year even than before. The guy that needs to be consistent is Rogers. I mean, we've already seen the high end, what he's capable of doing, but can he do it consistently? And I think that's a bugaboo that the coaches were even talking about today. How do we get him there? Mm-hmm. And if he doesn't do it, then you can't rely on him. You've got to rely on Osborne. You've got to rely on Courtney Davis, Cam Buckley, and then you got guys like Preston and Caleb Chapman who are making a move. So the ceiling for Kendrick Rogers is a first-round draft pick. The floor is also extremely low. So we don't know what we're going to get out of him. I mean, if we can get him out there on the field, consistently, he's going to be a big-time player. But can he do that? Can he stay healthy? Can he, continue to develop that rapport with Kellen Mond? Those are things we just don't know yet.
I mean, things seem to be going fairly well, obviously, throughout fall camp. What are your biggest questions, though, as we, finish out here?
Just basic depth issues. Who's gonna be in the secondary? I think that's the thing that is the most important at this point. Who are the corners going to be? Who are the safeties going to be? And then outside of that, who are the backups going to be? So I think all in all, it's not a bad situation to be in at this point. But the sooner they figure it out, the better.
Things are going really well with A&M fall camp so far, but playing in the SEC and the schedule that they have is a big but in the room. What are the chances A&M can be successful this year?
I think it depends on your idea of success. I think they could be a much better football team and still have the same record. My version of success would be 9 wins in the regular season. Outstanding success would be double digits, because you take a look at that schedule, it's just brutal. Going on the road to Clemson, having Alabama at home, but then closing with Georgia and LSU. That's a test. It's a test of your depth. It's a test of your talent. Is A&M there yet? Well, we're going to find out. I think they'll certainly be there next year. But can they get through the toughest schedule in college football and be in a position where they're in a high-level bowl or maybe even the college football playoff? That's going to be a tough task. The talent is there. Has it developed enough, I think, is the big question. And we're going to find out.
All right. Well, that's Mark Passwater. I'm Courtney Rowland here for AggieYell.com. We'll be back later as we watch practice.